Welcome to Everything is Changing. In each episode, we focus on circular economy, ecosystem restoration, energy transformation, sustainable mobility, and water resources. I am Ahmetcan Uzlaşık. Perspective is everything, and everything is changing. My guest today is Daniel Nardin, a journalist from the Brazilian Amazon with nearly 20 years of experience covering environment, health, and climate issues. He's a member of the Oxford Climate Journalism Network and the Solutions Journalism Network, and the founder of Amazonia Vox, a platform amplifying local voices and solution-driven stories from the region. In our conversation, we discuss what's at stake as Belém prepares to host COP30, the paradox of a region rich in biodiversity but poor in infrastructure, and how global climate diplomacy connects with everyday realities of those living in the Amazon. Daniel also shares his thoughts on indigenous representation, deforestation, and why storytelling from the global south is essential to the climate conversation. Hello, Daniel. Welcome to Everything is Changing. How are you?
Hello, fine. Thank you for inviting me to join us and to talk a little bit about my region, Amazon, climate change, and everything. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we are here. And I'm so honored to have you as my guest because as a young journalist, I'm so inspired by your work that you're doing in Brazil. So we're also going to talk about Amazonia Vox and everything that you're doing. But what I want to start with, it was months ago and I was in Perugia International Journalism Festival. And that was the first time that I listened to you in a conference and I learned so much about Amazon and COP30. And until that time, as a Turkish journalist living in Brussels, I wasn't really, I didn't have enough knowledge to talk about or to know anything about Amazon and basically the region. And thanks to you, you inspired me. And since then, I wrote an op-ed and a feature, which I also interviewed you for one of my features, and we published them in Revol Media. So we have less than 1 month for COP30. And so please tell us about what is the current situation in Amazon right now.
So I live in Belém, as the host city of COP30. And I can affirm to you, we who lives here, we are very exciting about this. All the time, if you turn on your TV, your radio station, social media, everyone talks about COP30. Yes, we had some kind of problem with to host 50,000 people in 15 days in Belém. But I think it's already resolved. The price is not cheap as other places, but the price is going down. We have, at this week, the COP presidency in Brazil says we have more 100 countries confirmed delegations. And there's a lot of journalists coming, a lot of activists, etc. So maybe won't be the COP of the COPs, like the official marketing of Brazil says, but it will be a great COP. But maybe now finally we stop it to discuss about the logistics and start to talk about negotiation. And we have a lot of challenges in this issue here, like other COPs, but you create too much expectation. And when you have too much expectation, maybe you'll be more frustrating. And this is the main issue in my opinion.
I have so many questions to ask, but since you mentioned about the accommodation prices, it has been covered heavily in the media that the accommodation prices is going to be a problem for delegates that are coming from let's say developed countries, right? Like African countries, Latin American countries, and Asia Pacific countries. Is this still an issue on COP? Like, are these delegates or civil society members having any troubles coming or accommodating in Belém?
I will just say to you what I'm reading and listening from the COP presidency, okay? The official version. They're saying like for example, some countries usually send 6 official negotiators in their delegations, but now they will send like 3 or 2, and so you're gonna have some representation, but no, not all the team. This is a way to resolve the problem, but still is a problem because, for example, if you have in the same time different meetings and discussions, the delegation will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say something about that because the person or negotiator who talks about this problem is not here, and we can discuss it later." So this is a kind of who some experts I'm talking about COP, they explain it to me. Oh, maybe we're gonna have this kind of problem. In the same time, you have two, three, four different meetings and issues, and now because you have delegations with less people, you need more time to discuss some points of negotiation, climate negotiation. But most of them already have places. The Brazil government they say, they are discussing and country per country and to accommodate all the delegations. So you have finally some new hotels, more offers from who lives in Belém for using like a Airbnb platform or booking.com platform. I saw some different initiatives who comes from the people. For example, some groups of churches discuss with their people, and they create a platform who says like accommodation with purpose, and they create this platform to, oh, I will open my house for you because it's important for people, and God says I need to receive foreign people in my house when they come to my city. So you saw some different perspectives, and if you take a look in this kind of websites, the prices in this moment is less than like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
But it's too late, right? We just have 15 days, 20 days.
Exactly. Months ago in Italy, I remember you were talking about something called Amazonian paradox. That was really interesting because then I wrote something about it as well. Belém stands as a symbol of Amazon's global importance, of course. But also in the other side, we see deep inequalities, social inequalities, economic inequalities. You gave lots of number at that time. I remember about even the basic sanitation needs. How is the inequalities that we have in Amazon going to reflect or resonate in the upcoming COP30?
Yeah, as other countries in the global south, we have deep inequality, but it's terrible when you look to the Amazon because like who is listening us, when you talk about Amazon, maybe you're gonna remember or think about forests, rivers, and rich biodiversity. And like this, we have this is a region with rich biodiversity and natural resources. But we have 30 million people living in just in Brazilian Amazon, and the rates of the data of health, education, and public works and policies, they are less than the average from Brazil. And the average of Brazil is less than countries in Europe or US, and they are like in countries in development like India or South Africa and other countries. So when you just take a look to Belém, it's a kind of a frame of Brazil problem, but worst. And for example, oh, this is the COP of the forest,
Yeah.
they say, right? The official marketing say, oh, COP in Amazon, it's the COP of the forest. But Belém, the capital of state of Pará, and in Amazon, is the second city with less trees in Brazil. Capital of Brazil is the second with less trees. Because Brazil have 27 states. Okay, Belém is the second one with less trees in our city. Arborization. So the COP of the COPs and the COP of the forest, but in a city who doesn't have too much trees. But tourists and negotiators will stay just in the center of the city. Okay, sure, in center of the city, in the downtown, you have a lot of trees. Belém is acknowledged in Brazil like city of the mango trees. Cidade das Mangueiras in Portuguese. city of mango tree, because we have huge mango trees in the downtown, but only in downtown. If you go to the peripheral area, you can't see trees. And this is a problem. In the last 40 years, the maximum temperature in Belém increases 2 degrees Celsius. We have huge problems in access to water.
Yeah.
So Amazon River, like Amazon rivers for all the sites. But most 60% of people doesn't have access to quality water.
And if someone says to me, what is the first word that comes to your mind when I say Amazon? Is, of course, for me, it's the forest. And what we have been seeing in the last couple of decades is that there is an immense deforestation in Amazon, right? And so the forests, the lungs of the earth, that's how they also call Amazon, right? The lungs of the earth have been destroyed. And it's still an ongoing process. And just this year, I read so many articles on these new infrastructure projects linked to COP30, like, if I'm pronouncing it right, Avenida Libertad, perhaps. And these have sparked criticism for harming protected areas. What do you think? Do you think that deforestation is the biggest problem in Amazon? And what do you think about these infrastructure projects?
Deforestation is the main problem of not only Amazon, but if you're thinking about emissions, Brazil is not like China or US or Europe, because our electricity are the basis of our electricity. It comes from renewable, like hydropower, solar panels, etc. But most of them are from rivers, from hydropower plants. But we have our emissions comes from the change of use of land and agro-industry and something like that. And the change of use of land is deforestation, because deforestation, at the same time, you have two problems. For one side, you don't have more the trees who capture carbon from the atmosphere. And for other side, when you burn it, you are emission and carbon to the atmosphere. So you have both problems in the same activity. If you take a look for 10 years to now, in Brazil, we changed the government 2 times. You have the government of Lula, then Dilma, then the other president, I forget, Michel Temer, and changed to Bolsonaro first season, like this, because it's a novel or a soap opera. Now Lula come back to the presidency. And during this period, you have first an effort to reduce deforestation rates in the first Lula's government, because it was very huge and average. But during the government Bolsonaro, the numbers increase again, because there's a kind of incentive to, I just saying their words to justify it, okay? Because if you discuss it in a political way, the who defends Lula are gonna say, oh, because Bolsonaro don't care about the environmental. But if you talk with Bolsonaro team, they say no, because we are concerned about the economy, the production, and we need to do it. Okay, but if you just look to the numbers of deforestation during the Bolsonaro government increase a little bit, not a bit, too much. But if you compare to the years of Lula, it was less. But in the Lula's government, the numbers was decreasing. In Bolsonaro, grows again. And now with the third season, the third time of Lula in presidence, we have Marina Silva. It's a leader of environmental and climate things, and she's the minister of environmental. And just now, the numbers of deforestation are decreasing again in Brazil, but still high. But there's an effort, there's an concern about this. In the last government, you don't have too much. But last year, 2024, it was the year of most fires in Amazon, in history. And this number comes from Map Biomas. It's a great platform who it showed it was the year when Amazon burned more in history, 2024. So, and why? Oh, because the government don't care. No, because of climate changes, because you have more area deforested and high temperatures. So the rainforest is more dry, and not Daniel saying it. It's scientists saying this. And this is one of the reasons we had the year with more fires in Amazon because of climate, the combination, a terrible combination of high temperatures with in a place with more deforested areas, so the forest is more sensible, the forest is more dry, and it burns. And but in this moment, this is a concern for the government to work about it, because yes, we have this kind of problem, but we also have some solutions, and some of them is like to protect indigenous areas, because if you look to the official indigenous areas in Brazil, they are more protected than others. And this is a climate solution, right? We are looking for, what we can do is just look to simple solutions, and we have it.
Yeah, Daniel, before moving to my second question, very quickly, what do you think about the new infrastructure projects that I mentioned?
Oh, so sorry. Yeah, you said. Belém have a lot of problems in infrastructure. For example, we have in Belém 1,005,000 people living in our city. And you just have one avenue to enter and go out of the city. Just one avenue or road. So this project, an Avenue Liberty, it already exists like 15 years. 20 years, they discuss about this avenue. But what is the problem? A communication problem. They use it. Oh, now we're going to receive a COP, we're going to host COP, and we need more alternatives to city, to our infrastructure. But you already have this problem like 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But now you have money and to build things, to create more infrastructure. And they say, oh, because of COP, we can build this avenue, which different governors want to do it. But now you have the money because of COP. So this avenue is not being built because of COP30, but COP30 was an excuse to receive money from the federal government to build it.
That's very important, because most of the media covered it as this road has been built because of COP30, but you're saying that it's not true actually.
Yeah, and this project have more than 15 or 20 years, but they don't have money, and there's a lot of environmental discuss. So it's just a project. But now, because of COP, the local authorities and local governments receive much money to build works for infrastructure, and one of them is, so it's like they use the COP as a excuse to build it. So I think it's important to be clear, and I'm not discussing if it's good or not good to environmental, but isn't made because of COP, but COP was an opportunity to build it. And there's a lot of problem because it was an area with native vegetation, forest area, and was a forest for this road. And they use COP30 as excuse. And it is a problem because COP30, we're going to discuss of solutions, climate, and it's a controversy, right?
Very shortly, what I wonder is that what I also read is there has been some criticism on Lula government on these ongoing offshore oil exploration actions near the mouth of Amazon River.
Yeah.
So can you explain what is that to our audience?
Some years ago, they discovered the potential of an oil exploration in the offshore sea in north of Brazil. The place, it's like 500 kilometers from the coast. But this coast is exactly the point with the Amazon River and with an Atlantic Ocean. So if something happens, probably will affect the Amazon region. Probably. The scientists say it's a problem. So if you have a chance to a huge problem in Amazon with oil, this is a problem. First. Second, Brazil wants to lead the transition area to the different place and use different energy, renewable energy, not fossil energy. But it's another controversy, right? Diplomatic controversy, like Brazil wants to lead, but Brazil also wants to explore oil in Amazon region. So it's another kind of problem, and this is in the discussion. I made this question to André Correa do Lago. He's the president of COP30, and if you ask to him about this point, he's gonna say, "Oh, this is an internal discussion. Brazil needs to discuss, and we need to discuss." So they don't reply to you, and in this moment you have this discuss in politics in Brazil. Do you have too much NGOs and science says, "Oh, this is a problem. This is not good." But a lot of politicians saying and having local support from the people in Amapá state, where is the place to build some works for it. And they say, "Oh, no, we need it because we need jobs, we need money, we need more opportunities." But how the big structure, the years and the time say to us, "Oh, this is just a promise."
My final two questions. One is about the representation of the indigenous communities in Amazon. So do you think that the indigenous communities, Afro-Brazilians, Amazonian people, or obviously you know better, the subdivisions of the indigenous groups in that region, are they being represented enough as we are going towards COP30?
Look, Brazil, for the first time in the history, we have Sonia Guajajara as a ministry of an original people or indigenous people in Brazil. And this is important. It's an official place. But some indigenous groups asks for a co-presidency, and they don't have it. And the presidency of COP30 is with André Correa do Lago, and the CEO of COP30 is Ana Toni. Both are very experts in these areas, but they are not indigenous. But they say they created kind of circles of people to give some counsels to them, like a council of experts. And one of these councils comes from indigenous people. And Sonia Guajajara is she's discussing too much, very present and giving interviews and talking a lot about this. There's an expectation to 4,000 or 5,000 indigenous people during the COP in Belém. They're gonna be hosted in the Pará University. So I believe in COP30, you have some indigenous in important positions, like Sonia Guajajara and others, to discuss in negotiation area. But you also will have a lot of pressure from indigenous people in the streets, etc. Because if you remember, last editions of COPs were in some countries, you don't have too much liberty to make some manifestations in the streets. Now we are in the place in a democracy, and we like to make some public manifestations, and I believe Belém, we're gonna see a lot of it.
To conclude, my last question, and it's going to be a very sharp journalist question. Do you think COP30 happening in Amazon is going to help the region? So very simple. I know it's a hard question also, but should we be positive about the fact that it's happening in Amazon? Is it really going to change the ongoing controversial or negative things happening to Amazon and the region?
I'm an optimistic journalist and human. And for example, who is listening to us? Your program, your podcast?
Well, mostly people from Europe, people in the EU bubble, and basically European audience have interest in sustainability.
So we discuss here more than 30 minutes about Amazon.
Yeah.
This is important.
True.
And this is the legacy of COP30 maybe, because COP30 will not be the COP of the COPs, will be not the last COP. COP is a process, and maybe we will have some progress. But if you take a look to the international context, you have a terrible context because of the US, Argentina, and etc. Yeah. You have the climate changes pressuring Europe countries to think in their own adaptation, so they also need some money. You have the wars, so international context is terrible. You have this problem of logistics, other problem. Okay, but after all, we discussed here about some paradox in Amazon and people from Amazon during 30 minutes to an Europe audience who maybe never heard about our problems and people from Amazon. And I believe we need to have life after COP30. We need, as journalists, as who lives here in Amazon, and your work, for example, with podcast and who is listening to us, is so important to it, to keep Amazon in the headlines, to put light and the spotlight in the region, to pressure Brazil to see more and understand more Amazon, because in the last 500 years, the history of official Brazil, because before it you have indigenous people living here, but in the official story of Brazil, Amazon, it was every soul like a deposit of natural resources. Yeah. And maybe now say, oh, Belém doesn't have too much infrastructure. Amazon region needs more quality to their people. Oh, we have Amazon in Brazil and people lives there. Yeah. So I believe COP30 is already being important for our region, to discuss our problems, to see our solutions, and to find a way to develop with a look to environmental, to this important region, to the planet, but also to people who lives under the trees.
Yeah. Daniel, I know that you have 4 minutes left, but just in 1 minute, because you're doing some amazing job in Amazonia Vox in Brazil, and I'm a huge fan of your work there. You're doing solutions journalism, you're bringing freelance journalists together and everything. Just in 1 or 2 minutes, can you also, maybe I want more people to hear about your work that you're doing in Amazonia Vox. Can you talk about it just for 1 or 2 minutes?
Sure. And this is the time I need to in Portuguese, we say like, oh, this is time to sell my fish to you to buy, right? And thank you for it. I just invite you to follow us on Amazonia Vox. You can find us in LinkedIn, in Instagram. And also we have this website, Amazonia, because it's Amazon, but in Portuguese, amazoniavox.com. And basically, we are working like this. Oh, if you listen about Amazon, yes, forest, rivers, etc. And what else? Problems like illegal mining and deforestation, etc. Okay, unfortunately, we have all of this. But you don't need to create a way to come to Amazon to save Amazon. You need to know more the solutions led by local people and local initiatives. And we want to show it. Local solutions for regional problems in Amazon. But also we created a bank of sources. And at this moment, we have more 1,500 sources, local voices like scientists, indigenous and activists, etc. It's a kind of a tool for journalists and researchers who want to connect with local voices. You can find mini bio and email and photos, and a community of more than 800 professionals of communication, like journalists, photographers, web designers, social media, etc. And with this work, I'm so proud because we don't want to be the best or the biggest, but we want to collaborate to improve the local protagonism in narratives about Amazon, and to be here talking with you and who is listening to me my terrible English. I hope you can understand. And I think it's a kind of way we are collaborating to it.
Well, I believe you sold the fish. I truly believe that. What you're doing there is an amazing work, and we need more journalism like that for sure. And I wish you good luck in your future work. And thank you, Daniel, for joining Everything is Changing.
And thank you. And I invite you and who listening to us to come to Belém. Maybe after COP because prices will be better. But if you want to talk about Amazon, it's important to know in person and the complexity of Amazon in plural because we have Amazons of Amazon. Thank you so much, Matt.
Well, then see you in Belém, let's say.
See you. Thanks so much.
That was my conversation with Daniel Nardin. His reflections on the Amazon's paradox, a region vital to the planet yet often overlooked in policy and investment, are a powerful reminder that climate action must begin with listening to those who live closest to the crisis. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow Everything is Changing on your favorite podcast platform and share it with someone interested in the intersection of climate, communication, and justice. Every story adds to our understanding. Every voice helps shift the narrative because perspective is everything and everything is changing. See you next time.